Alrighty. Well, I want to respect everyone's time and thanks everyone for being here on time this evening. We'll probably be admitting a few folks as we get into things. And look at that, someone just joined. Um, so I want to welcome everyone to our 2025 community briefing. My name is Peter Allen, and I'm proud to be a co-founder of San Jose Arts Advocates. And I'm also proud to be joined here by a number of our core team and our leadership, and I'll give them a chance to say hello in the chat, and I will introduce them all by name later when we get to a point where we'll be talking about who we are and what we do. But first and foremost, just want to thank you for joining us tonight. This is something we do intermittently. I would not say annually. I believe the last time we did a briefing like this was 2 years ago when we updated and wanted to push out our new advocacy priorities. Well, we have recently revisited those and did some rethinking around them with our new core team that has developed over the past 2 years. And we're ready to present those priorities to you tonight and get your feedback. So we're going to jump right into things, and I want to make sure we get everyone out here at a reasonable time, especially myself. I've got a 2-year-old in the other room who is enjoying her shows and her snacks, but I'm sure she'll want daddy as soon as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into things. And first and foremost, on as far as interaction tonight, I want to make this as interactive as possible, although I'll be dumping a lot of information on you. So again, we will have a recording later, so don't need to take copious notes. But if you have any questions at all during the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them towards the end of the presentation. We'll also have an opportunity for live questions if you want to hop off mute and do that yourself directly. And as always, you can email us or contact us anytime with questions you have about anything you see here tonight. But we really want to encourage you to interact with us and engage. So without further ado, we'll jump right into it, who we are. So this is a real quick primer for anyone who's not familiar with San Jose Arts Advocates. So we are a collective, a collaborative. We are absolutely not, I would want to stress, a 501c anything. We are, in fact, a slightly disorganized but highly organized at the same time project of the San Jose creative community. And when I say we, the arts advocates are artists, we are arts practitioners, we are arts advocates, we are arts patrons, donors, nonprofit administrators, nonprofit staff, frontline artists, arts businesses, and creative entrepreneurs, and many more. Anyone who has an interest in bettering and improving arts and culture here in San Jose, but also beyond, primarily through funding, but also through other means, which we'll get into a little bit tonight. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna, there we go. Adjust my windows here so I can adequately present. Okay, moving right along. What we do. So San Jose Arts Advocates came together about now 5 years ago. We'll get into that in a second too, around 3 simple missions. The first is to build public will for arts and culture in San Jose. Second is to amplify the political voice of San Jose's creative community. And 3, to provide opportunities for learning, networking, and collaboration. And as far as what the core of what we're trying to do here is really educate. We want to educate you, our artist and creative community, about the opportunities we have to advocate both in the halls of government and elsewhere, the halls of philanthropy, for example, for better funding for and better support for arts and cultural programs and our programs in the work that we do. But also, we want to serve as your advocates. We know that artists, working professionals, anyone out there, really, it's very challenging to engage with our government and challenging to engage, especially with city government. It's sometimes hard to know where to start or where to go. And it's hard to find the time to meaningfully engage. And that's really why San Jose Arts Advocates came together. We want to serve as that voice. We want to be your representatives in the halls of power. And we want to, we're not your lobbyists. We are, like I said, we're not paid. We're all volunteers here. But we've stepped up to do a little deeper engagement with our local government and our other partners, more so than any one of us can in our individual ways. We come together collectively to have collective strength. And as far as collective strength, I just want to stress we have partners. We are a local regional organization. We are focused primarily in San Jose. in Santa Clara County, but we do primarily in San Jose-based issues and arts issues, but we do engage at the county level through our county arts agency, SV Creates. And then we also partner with statewide advocacy organizations, California for the Arts, which is a membership-based organization, and then California Arts Advocates, which is a lobbying organization, and membership is organizationally based, but they are advocates for us up in Sacramento on statewide issues. And then, of course, at the national level, Americans for the Arts are our statewide or our national partners in American Arts Action Fund. And I will invite you a couple times tonight. If you have your phones ready, you can scan this QR code and head over to and bookmark. I wouldn't say do it while we're doing the presentation here, but bookmark our survey. We do a community survey again when we update our priorities and do some resets because we want to get a sense of the community. We are a collective, and our leadership team fluctuates based on who has the time to participate. We are a very flat organization, and we also know that our leadership group does not necessarily at any given time reflect the full diversity and brilliance of the San Jose creative community. So we want to make sure that we're getting feedback from everyone and as many people as possible and as many sectors as possible. So please, if you are an artist or work in the arts space and arts and cultural space, please take the survey, share it with your friends and other fellow advocates, and anyone else you think might be interested. We're looking for a variety of perspectives, and we welcome your feedback. So please share that widely. As far as education goes and local elections and politics, as some of you may know, there is a special election coming up in District 3 for the City Council in San Jose because of a recent vacancy. And we are one of many groups actually hosting candidate forums. Ours will obviously be focused on arts and culture and the supreme importance of District 3 in terms of being home to Japantown and downtown and SOFA District and San Pedro Square and so many spaces that are so critical to our arts, culture, and entertainment communities. So we invite you to join us 1 week from tonight, same bat time, different link. But please register. You can follow the QR code. You can go to our website and find a link to register there. We highly encourage everyone who's here tonight to attend that. And I did see some candidates joining us. I want to thank them for being here. Again, this is not mandatory tonight for you to be here. We obviously expect you to be at the forum if you've RSVP'd for that. And you'll be getting more information about that candidates. And then for the rest of you who have RSVP'd, you'll be getting a Zoom link by the end of the week. So just look out for that, just like you got the link for tonight. A couple upcoming events following that. The very next day, March the 4th, SV Creates, our partners who I mentioned earlier, will be hosting their annual advocacy workshop, which is similar to this, only focused more on statewide issues and county issues, and national issues. But we have been asked to provide the local angle at that event. So please tune in if you want to hear a little bit more. A lot of the information you'll be hearing tonight will be repeated at that event. And then the city of San Jose and SV Creates are put together an artist summit to help with empowering, as it says, empowering creatives at the intersection of art and entrepreneurship, really helping individual artists understand their power as entrepreneurs, as business people, and how to get more engaged in that regard. So feel free to join that. We'll have a table there, an informational table, but it's going to be a really fun event regardless. So hope you'll be there for that. At the state level, stay tuned for for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month coming up in April. 2 big events up in Sacramento. The first is the California for the Arts Arts and Culture Summit, which is, I believe, second or third annual now. So that'll be on April the 22nd, and that's an all-day thing. Tickets are on sale now. We can get you the links for that. And then also save the date for Arts Advocacy Day, which is the following day, April 23rd. We are inviting anyone from San Jose who would like to go to head up to Sacramento that day to meet with our local legislators, participate in rallies and other events, and generally have a rockin' good advocacy time. If you are interested, we have a local captain, or we will have a local captain who will be heading up there and organizing things. So if you sign up, you'll be plugged in with them and you'll get all the information you need. But if you have any questions, you can follow up with us about that. Okay, that's what's coming up on the horizon. Looking back really quickly, I wanted to just point out this year, in fact, this month, marks the 5th anniversary of San Jose Arts Advocates. So, golf clap. This is a photo actually from our first public event at the School of Visual Philosophy. It's our launch party, and this is the flyer from that launch party. As you can see, our MC was Mighty Mike McGee, one of our original core team members. And I just was pleasantly surprised to remember that this is the fifth anniversary this month of this organization. Hello. Yes, of course you can do that. As I said, I got the 2-year-old right here with me. She was not even around. She was not even an idea at the time of our of our origins. But from such humble origins, we have come, and we have done a lot of great work over the past few years. And we hope to do even more in the next 5 years, and hope to be around for many, many years after that. But I want to really quickly shout out members of my core team, our leadership team, who are here with us tonight in the Zoom. I'm just going to go down the participants list. I see Barbara Dutra. I see Brendan Rawson. I see Carmen Gaines. I see Karen Kinzel. I'm going down. I see Sarah Cornell. Thank you for being here, Sarah. So these are all folks who are participating actively in our work and trying to pitch in whenever they can. They say, if you want something done, ask a busy person. Well, that's never been more true than for this group. We are all very, very busy people, but we love this work, and we love helping to advocate for these priorities we're going to get into, and advocating on your behalf and our creative community's behalf, because someone needs to do it. Someone needs to step up and be the voice, and someone needs to be at the table, or we're going to be on the menu, as they say. So without further ado, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Brendan. Thanks for everyone for joining us, and thanks to everyone for being here tonight. We're going to jump right into our priorities here in just 1 second, and I'm going to throw into the chat. If you ever have want to know any more about what's going on, that's our website, the best place to go to find out more. If you would like to register for the District 3 forum that's coming up, there you go. You can do that. And hot off the presses today, if you would like to learn more about the candidates in the District 3 race, you can read their responses to our candidate questionnaire, which they have graciously submitted to us as of last Friday. Thank you, candidates. And then finally, I'll drop one more link in the chat before I get started on the priorities. This is a great way to give us feedback as well, is our community survey. So a lot of what we're going to be going over tonight, we'll be discussing in that survey, and you can give us your feedback directly. All right. And now, let me hop over to the appropriate window so I can roll us through our priorities. All right. So, as of a couple years ago, let's take it back to just a couple years here. Let's take about 5 years. So it's the 5th anniversary of San Jose Arts Advocates. Picture yourself 5 years ago. It was February. It was March 2020. We all can remember what was happening around that time, but it was still very much a question mark. No one really knew what was happening. And when San Jose Arts Advocates came together, our number one priority at that time was a policy that we had been the city had been pondering, and we had been advocating for individually and in kind of a ragtag way for many years, and that was the private percent for art policy. This would have applied an impact fee, basically, or an in lieu fee to private developments that would fund arts and culture programs in San Jose. There's already a policy like this on public projects, but this would have applied it to private projects. And as our very first advocacy endeavor, we set out to put this policy on the city council's priority list for development of a policy. This is how the council used to set policy priorities. They would have a meeting, and they would basically do a dot exercise and pick 10 things and say, these are our priorities. Well, lo and behold, we were lucky enough to get 6 votes and get our private percent for our policy on the priority list. It was sometime in, I believe, early March when the meeting happened, March 9th. And then on March the 16th, 1 week later, our entire county went into lockdown, and we entered pandemic mode. And suddenly the priorities of the city and everyone else shifted. And for the past 3 or 4 years, San Jose Arts Advocates has been primarily engaged around advocating for sustaining existing arts and cultural funding from the city of San Jose through a variety of means, coronavirus relief funds and other subsidies from the general fund. And we've been successful in ensuring that the level of grant support, the level of nonprofit art support, the level of staffing, the level of programs that the Office of Cultural Affairs has provided over the past few years has been consistent, despite the fact that the funding for those programs has completely tanked, and is only now recovering back to pre-pandemic levels. So that has been our focus over the past few years. But now that we're emerging from the pandemic and we have new challenges that we're facing in terms of city deficits and the lack of COVID relief funds, we need to adjust our priorities and find new and creative ways to fund arts and culture. And we are doing that through our priorities here. And these priorities are also taking into account the current political climate and political winds in San Jose, and trying to understand where we might be able to get some progress, because we understand that there are some severe budget challenges at the city. But we feel that there's never been a better time to invest in arts and culture, and we'll get into why here in a second. So I'm going to take a breath. Hope you all take a breath, and we'll jump right in. So these are our top three advocacy priorities. Not all of these are policy related. That's why they're called advocacy priorities. I would say that the first is very much so a wonky policy priority, and then the other two are a little more philosophical in nature. And what you're going to hear from me here tonight is a presentation that we are giving right now to city council members and their staff. So they're hearing the same information that you are about these priorities, and they're getting the same education in some cases, because most of them don't have the first clue about what's going on out there in the arts and cultural scene. And that's why we're here, though. We love to educate. We love to inform them about it. So our very first priority, creating a truly reciprocal TOT. What the heck does that mean? Well, we're going to start off with a big number. When I put this deck together, this slide, the template said big number, right? Well, it's a big number in terms of size on the slide. It's not a very big number in terms of the amount. This is 15 cents. So whenever anyone stays in a hotel in San Jose, most hotels, I'm pretty sure it's all of them, there's a 10% surcharge that's placed on their stay. That 10% surcharge goes into a fund called the Transient Occupancy Tax, or TOT fund. For every dollar that goes into that fund, 15 cents goes to fund the Office of Cultural Affairs, which is now a division of the Office of Economic Development. This funds all of our cultural programs, including the cultural grants. It funds all OCA projects and special events. It funds public art maintenance that's not covered by the Public Art Fund, which is fairly well dried up because we're not doing any public projects that produce the percent for art. And it also, interestingly enough, and very importantly, funds all of OCA's administration and staff. All of their funding, all their salaries come out of the TOT. What does that look like when you break down that dollar? Where does the rest of it go? The 15 cents here you can see goes to Office of Cultural Affairs and for cultural programs. And then where does the other 85 cents go? Well, 40 cents right off the bat goes to the general fund, the city's general fund, which is the city's discretionary fund. The council can use that fund on an annual basis to do with what they choose, primarily choose to fund core city services. But it is, like I said, discretionary. So the council does not have to use that funding on arts and culture or any other programs related to arts and culture, even though arts and culture and tourism and entertainment are the primary drivers of this tax, of the TOT, of putting people in hotel beds and getting to pay this tax. So it would be understandable if they wanted to reciprocate a little more of that. We'll get into that in a second. Okay, so that's 40 cents. Where does the other 45 cents go? Well, 30 cents goes to the Team San Jose to fund our convention center, to basically run our convention center. Team San Jose is a quasi-public-private nonprofit entity that manages our convention center and a number of our cultural facilities, but they get 30 cents on the dollar primarily to be our convention center operator. And of course, the convention center is a primary driver of hotel stays and events in San Jose, and corporate events, conventions, all those wonderful fur cons. So obviously, it makes sense to invest back in that work and make sure the convention center is the world-class venue that it needs to be. And then 15 cents on the dollar goes to, again, Team San Jose to serve as our Convention and Visitors Bureau for San Jose. They are our tourist bureau. So they also get that. So they get 45 cents, the city gets 40 cents to the general fund, and Cultural Affairs gets 15 cents. So this is where that 15 cents goes. This is this year's adopted budget, the fiscal year 2024-2025 approved budget that the council approved. This is the entirety of cultural affairs funding. So you can see staff, you can see our operating grants, our take part grants, which are project-based grants, uh, festival parade and celebration grants, which support public events in San Jose, and then other programs, technical assistance support, which is provided to local arts organizations and nonprofits and local artists, public art maintenance again, artist grants. The city does grants to individual artists. They have done grants to creative businesses, and they even have done some capital and sustainability grants to local arts organizations to help them with capital projects that they've had trouble funding because it's a lot harder to fund capital projects than it is programs. So for this, basically, if you add up the three grant programs here, you're looking at about $4.15 million in those programs, input into those programs. That's been fairly consistent the past few years. And then total spending, someone with much better math skills than I could let you know, but in the 8 million range. So unfortunately, this year, the transient occupancy tax did not provide enough funding to the Arts and Cultural Affairs Department to fund all of this. So some funding had to come from reserves, some funding had to be shifted around. Right now, the reserve at OCA is fairly well dried up, and other resources are fairly well dried up. But for that 4.15 million that's invested in those grants, strictly to the nonprofit organizations, this is what we get. You have probably, if you've been in San Jose long enough, you have experienced one or more or many of these organizations, of these events. You might even be practitioners of some of these events. You might be promoters of some of these events. I see you, Phil. Uh, you may be board members. You might be patrons. But absolutely, you have connected in some way with some of these events and organizations, all of which are funded by the transient occupancy tax and our cultural affairs grants. Just let all that soak in. This is San Jose. This is who we are. This is what we are. This is what makes our diversity. This is what makes our city a place that people want to live, work, and play. And we'll make it so in the future. But it's not just about the feel goods. It's not just about the vibes. It's not just about all the wonderful programs we provide and the experiences we provide and the, as I think one council member put it, the spiritual impact. There's also dollars and cents, economic impact. So remember, $4.15 million into our nonprofit arts grants programs. This is the economic impact of nonprofit arts and cultural organizations in San Jose. $292 million. That's the bottom line. $292 million of annual economic impact from those organizations and their audiences. That's in fiscal year 2022 dollars. That's still mid-pandemic. More than likely, this is a lot higher now, but this is the most recent study. It was released in 2023 by Americans for the Arts in consultation with SV Creates. Thank you so much for being our local partner and the Office of Cultural Affairs. What does that break down into? It breaks down into 4,700 jobs. It breaks down into $6 million of local taxes. And one of my favorite numbers, how it breaks down in terms of audience spending. So for every person coming from outside San Jose to an arts and cultural event here, a nonprofit event, again, this does not include for-profit, sharks, anything like that. $65.69 they spend per person per event outside of the ticket price. So there's what they're spending on the ticket price that goes to the organization, but on everything else that they have to do to get there and to enjoy their stay and have a good time, they're spending $66 per person. Even someone from San Jose is spending $37. And I think even Carmen from our group the other day said, yeah, she's probably spending a little closer to $65, $66 when she goes out in San Jose, right? Because it's getting a little pricier to to have a good time. But we do it because we love the experiences, right? And it's all part of the experience. But this says a lot about the economic impact and the true impact of the arts and culture. It's not just about the spiritual impact, although that's so important, and we know it. Artists are second responders in emergencies, and we have been throughout the pandemic, the wildfires, whatever disaster you want to cite. Artists are there helping the community heal, and we're doing it now in the midst of our new Cheeto administration. So remember, though, that the dollars and cents are also there too, along with the common sense. You see what I did there? All right. So we've talked about how all that comes out of the TOT. Well, this is what the TOT looks like over the years, right? This is pretty much a 20-year glimpse of the TOT. You're not seeing the current year. You're not seeing the past year. For the past year and this year, we're looking at about $40 million of TOT. It's projected to come in a little higher than 40 million this year, but the budget says 40 million, so we'll go with 40 million. And it's pretty much flatlined over the past few years. It is not getting back to the levels we saw pre-pandemic of 51.4 million. It may not get back there for a long time. It might get back there next year. We'll talk about that, but it may not get back there in a consistent way for a very long time. And as you can see, we were on a very good run for a while, but it fell apart. Things fell apart, and we need to reassess and figure out how if this is going to be the fund that funds everything in arts and culture in San Jose, we need to figure out how to make sure we're maximizing it. And if folks aren't interested in new alternatives for funding, we need to figure out how to maximize this fund. Oh yeah, and Brendan points out, great point from Brendan Rawson, who's on our leadership team, executive director of San Jose Jazz, that they receive, and a lot of organizations receive, festival parade, celebration grants, and other project-based grants, some of which go right back into paying the city for security, for shutting down roads, for a variety of things. So and for their just to hold their events. So speaking of reciprocity, our grantees pay back to the city from the grants they get. But just to point out that 40 cents that goes to the general fund, right? This is how that looks in the context of the greater general fund. We talked about the return on investment. Well, right now the TOT makes up about 0.8% of the general fund. It's not insignificant. It would be $16 million in the current year. That's not insignificant when you're facing $60 million budget deficit as the city is projecting and trying to close. So our long-term goal, as you'll find, is to figure out how can we get that 0.8% redirected towards our work and towards arts and culture. But we understand that would be a significant hit to the general fund and to the city's attempts to balance the budget in the near term. So here's what we're proposing. We have a short-term and a long-term game. In the long term, we would like to see 100% of the TOT revenue dedicated to arts, destination marketing, and destination events, which is a city term, basically meaning arts, culture, tourism, Team San Jose, and opposite cultural affairs. However, we understand that we need to maintain our core services, so we would also look at more of an incremental approach over time. And one of those potential incremental approaches was proposed during a study session last year that the City Council had by some consultants that the OCA brought in. And they had a dozen recommendations of potential measures to improve arts and culture funding. And among them were a couple related to the TOT, including our suggestion to reallocate 100% of it. But they also had a recommendation, number 11, which was to set a baseline for the general fund contribution, right? Just to cap it at whatever it is now. So say $16 million is what it is this year. Say it's $16 million into the future. And then any net new revenue, right? So as that TOT increases, hopefully, with all of our special events next year and into the future, hopefully it continues to recover. The increase will then be applied to arts, culture, tourism programs, right? To Team San Jose and OCA. So this is a way to protect the existing general fund investment while also trying to create at least a little more revenue for arts and culture. It may not generate a ton, but as you can see from the $4.15 million investment, all that economic impact we got, imagine what we could do with even another $500,000, another $1 million. If we could double those grants, right? If we could double that grant program to $8 million, imagine what organizations would do. I invite you, if you are with an arts and culture organization or you're an artist, what would you do if we could double your grant from the city? What would you do? Drop it in the chat. I would love to hear it. And by the way, feel free to introduce yourselves. Tell everyone which organizations you represent in the chat. We want to make sure we're representing a broad cross section of our community here. Okay, so that's our first and most wonky priority. So I'll let that sink in. The next two are not going to take as long to dive into, but they are equally important. So first and first of those is centering arts and artists in our community. What does that mean exactly? Well, as y'all know and we've discussed, we've got some big events coming to San Jose and the region in the next couple years, especially in 2026 when we will have the Super Bowl at Levi Stadium. It's American football. This is my kind of football. Where we have FIFA World Cup coming to Levi's as well. We'll also have the men's basketball tournament, NCAA tournament at SAP Center, and then a variety of other big events. We just had the All-Star game for the NBA up in San Francisco. And the city has professed up and down that they will be using these events and this attention that San Jose is getting and that our county and our region are getting to really to highlight the diversity and our wonderful arts and cultural community to folks who are visiting San Jose, but also to San Joseans, and to engage our arts community around events and initiatives and prompts and all manner of ways to better inform both people who are again visiting here, but also people who live here about the wonderful opportunities they have to experience arts and culture in San Jose. We want so very much so to believe that we will be their first call, that the city will be reaching out to individual artists and to our arts and cultural organizations that are working at the ground level with local artists in the local community. We very much want to believe that, and we very much want them to do that. But we also have the experience that a lot of the times, if you don't put yourself at the table again, if you don't get yourself a seat, you're going to be on the menu. So our immediate goal right now is to engage with the city's incoming sports and special events director, or sports czar, Tommy O'Hare, and the Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs to proactively and meaningfully engage with the local arts community, to put local artists and San Jose's unique cultural diversity front and center during these major destination events, and really full time. This is something the city should be doing and engaging on 100% with gusto all the time, because there are always opportunities to promote the work that we're doing out there in the community. But particularly right now, we want to take advantage and we want to be at the table. It's one thing to have on the list of partners that we've seen from the city, the Sharks and the San Jose Sports Authority, and the big players, right? The Chamber of Commerce. We love them all, and they should be at the table. We should be at the table too. If they want to have meaningful engagement with the arts and cultural community, the arts and cultural community should be at the table. And we have not seen that on the list of partners so far, but we are looking forward to more meaningful engagement as Tommy gets into his role. And then long term, we are working with state partners and others to encourage the cultivation and establishment of cultural districts and entertainment zones, particularly cultural districts like La Avenida around Mexican Heritage Plaza, Japantown, SOFA. There's a statewide program now to establish cultural districts that provide resources to those districts and to the arts leaders in those communities to uplift those communities. And unfortunately, that funding has stagnated. So we're calling on the city council and city leaders to work with local organizations to advocate for additional funding for those programs, but also to do whatever we can here locally to establish areas where we can uplift community through the arts. So we're really hoping that our council members will join us in this effort. It's something that Californians for the Arts and California arts advocates are advocating for very heavily and have for the past few years. It's not likely that we'll get new funding anytime soon, but if you're not advocating, you're never going to get what you want. You're never going to steal second with your foot on first. Baseball analogy. All right. Hope everyone's got that. We're going to move on to our third and final priority, and then we'll get to questions here in a moment. Updating the city's cultural road maps. So, wouldn't you know, I don't know if you do know, the city has a general plan, which is a blueprint for how the city will develop, right, over time, land use and things of that nature, what you can do in certain places, and then has different planks around the environment, around housing and other development, and business development. But it also has a plank around arts and culture. It's not a very substantial one, but that's because we actually have an arts and cultural plan at the city level called the Cultural Connection. Unfortunately, that cultural plan was last updated in 2011. Sorry, excuse my cough, 2011, and it expired during the pandemic, actually 5 years ago when the Arts Advocates were founded. So we've been working without a cultural plan, without a vision from the city for arts and culture in San Jose for a number of years. And really, that plan, by the time it did sunset, was outdated and had a lot of it had not been accomplished anyway, and needed revisiting and revisioning. We just have not done that yet. Ditto the public art plan. The city has a public art master plan that is woefully out of date. I believe it expired in 2012 and has not been revisited since then. So when we've met with council members as SJAA, one question we got that's stuck with me at least ever since we got it was, what is the vision for arts and culture in San Jose? And when it was asked, they were asking, well, what's our vision? What's our community's vision for arts and culture in San Jose? And from our perspective, it's more, right? It's all the things we do. We know we're doing wonderful things. We know we have wonderful ideas out there, and we know we have programs that we only wish we could execute if we just had the funding to do it. Or we could ramp up the programs we already have that are working so well in delivering all that wonderful economic and social and spiritual impact. We have a vision, right? We want, and we want to be part of a vision, and we want to be partners in a vision, and the city can help us do that. So immediately, what we're looking for from the city council and from the city and from OCA is to identify, okay, what would it cost to do a complete update of these cultural plans, and then help us go out and identify the funding to do it. We know that's not going to come from the general fund, more than likely. Although, hey, candidates, we'd more than likely love to have you propose that, but more than likely not coming from the general fund. More than likely not coming from that TOT revenue either, because it's, again, so highly leveraged to do all the other work. So we're going to be looking outside the city, probably to philanthropy and other sources, private sources. But we encourage creativity from the council, and we're trying to work with them to identify funding at least in the next year to do the broad community engagement it will take to develop new plans and cultural roadmaps for the city. And then long term, as always, with this and with anything else, we are encouraging the city to work with us and work with arts and cultural practitioners at the ground level and the grassroots level, and individual artists to inform their programs and their policies, because we have the unique insights and perspectives of actually being out there and doing the work, right? And so few people within the city have done this work outside of OCA, really. And maybe one council member who has experience in nonprofit arts. Most council members, most of our leaders at the city level, they have no experience in the arts. I think some of them, their last experience was high school theater. That was frankly one of my first experiences, so I shouldn't talk. But you get what I'm saying. So we do have to do a lot of education, and we hope that we always encourage them, and we hope that they will use us, SJAA, as well as you, as a resource, and reach out to their constituents to learn more, because again, unless we're making ourselves a priority, unless we're putting ourselves into the conversation, we're going to get forgotten, because there are so many priorities that they're facing right now at the city level, and they're hearing from residents about. There are issues that we do intersect with, right? That's why ongoing, we were hoping that the city auditor and the city will use and leverage arts and culture more in their annual resident survey to try to make these connections between quality of life and the issues that people are seeing right now and are very concerned about, whether they're perceiving those things or they're real. The clean, safe, secure city, healthy city that everyone talks about. Well, these issues all impact artists, and arts and culture can impact those things. We can make the city safer. We can make the city healthier. We can make it's proven, and we can make the city more economically viable. All of these things. So we encourage the city to take arts and culture seriously as a critical component of our ecosystem. All right. I think I'm going to stop talking for just a minute. I'm going to breathe. And got a few folks here in the room tonight. If anyone has any questions, or if any of my team want to come off mute and offer any thoughts on that I did not hit on, or anything that they would like to touch upon, now would be a good time. I can hear them frantically searching for the mute button. Okay. All right. Well, that means I did a good job. Oh, thank you, Carmen. All right. Well, hey, questions are still welcome in the chat. I've got it open, and I'll endeavor to get back to them as soon as possible. We've got about 15 more minutes here, so I wanted to run through just a couple more things before we go. I want to tell you what's next, right? What's happening out there, advocates? How can you get engaged? Well, first and foremost, thank you for being here. This is the first step, for being here tonight and for watching this. If you're watching later on YouTube, and you've managed to listen to me ramble for 44 minutes, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You've even gotten to meet EJ, my 2-year-old daughter. What's coming up on the horizon? So right now, as I mentioned, past month and this month, and even going into March, SJAA leadership has been meeting with and is meeting with all of the city council members and or their staff. We've met with every office, I believe, except for 2 now, or I'm sorry, we're scheduled with every office except for 1 now, and we've met with every office except for 3, including the mayor's office. So those meetings are going fairly well. It's definitely an educational endeavor because we have some new council members. I believe 3 new council members this year. So there's a lot of education to do. But getting positive feedback on all of our priorities, including the TOT proposal, and we might be getting some traction there. It will take a council member or 2 to champion that proposal, to take that up as a cause celeb, to do the work of the research and putting it together. We can work with them on that, but again, we're not lobbyists, so we're really just bringing them the idea and hope and encouraging them to run with it. But we're going to be doing everything we can to get that rolling this year during the budget cycle. So this is what the budget cycle looks like. We're doing our one-on-ones right now. The budget cycle really kicks off. They've just recently had a priority setting session where they talked about, generally speaking, what they're each going to be looking for in the budget. I'm really happy to note that a couple council members specifically, 3 of them actually, specifically brought up arts and culture and said that we need to do more and we need to protect arts and culture funding, but also invest more. So that's a good sign that they're willing to step up at that early stage and say something on the dais about it and make it part of their comments. So very good sign. We'll be following up with those council members very soon. So March 18th is the first big touch point for you. I want you to save that date. So this is where we're at now. This is where I want you to think about next. March 18th. So the mayor's March budget message. What is the mayor's March budget message? So the mayor is just like any other council member. They're just another vote when it comes down to it. When it comes time to vote, they don't have veto power. They don't have executive power. They can't. The mayor cannot even necessarily propose the budget and put the budget together themselves or their office. There is a budget office at the city that puts it together. The city manager governs that process, but the mayor sets the direction. The mayor sets a course, and the mayor asks the council to help set the course by approving a budget message that focuses on key investment areas and opportunities, that focus on strategic priorities that the mayor has, but also fall in line with the city's general goals. Typically, this is a hotly debated topic usually because the mayor does not always align, and their thoughts don't always align with the rest of the council or with the majority of the council. So there's a lot of negotiation and collaboration that has to happen, and this is the first step of it, is the mayor's March budget message, which is released in early March and then will be heard by council on March 18th, I believe. So that'll be an opportunity for us as arts advocates to advocate, to look at the message, to see what's in there for arts and culture. If there's anything we want to highlight, we want to call out. And if there's anything that's not in there that we want to highlight or call out or advocate for. So this will be the first opportunity you'll be hearing from us to get engaged. You can, as far as sending a letter, sending a one-click email to the council, showing up at the council meeting to speak. Unfortunately, they've discontinued online comments at city council meetings, which is tragic. They've got their reasons, but it's unfortunate for a lot of us who just can't make it physically to City Hall and sit there for 4 hours waiting to speak. If you can, we would love for you to do that. But you can also send a letter. It's just as powerful, and we'll tell you all about how to do that, and we'll give you talking points for doing that once we've had a chance to look at the message, because we have no idea what's going to be in it yet. But we have indications, not a whole lot, for arts and culture. After the mayor issues his budget message, the city manager or the city budget office go back and they put together a budget and they release sort of an early version of that. And then in May, throughout the month of May, the city conducts community budget meetings. So coming out and talking to you, talking to the people in different council districts and areas about the budget and rolling it out and getting feedback. And then it's simultaneous. The council is having budget study sessions and hearings on the proposed budget. So these are both opportunities for us to engage as advocates, either as showing up and speaking or, again, submitting comments. Again, we will keep you well informed as long as you're signing up and on our mailing list. You will know all about that. And then June 10th, the final proposed budget goes to council and hopefully gets approved by that point. They have at least one or more meeting or two more meetings they could extend into if they need to, if the deliberations go on and on. But that'll be the end product will be happening on June the 10th. And in between all of that, council members have to submit their budget documents and their requests and their ideas. And hopefully among those will be our concept around the TOT baseline. So again, this is where we are. This is where we're going. If you would like to give us feedback again on anything you've heard tonight or any of these priorities, you're welcome to do so either here in the chat, through email, but we'd love for you to take our survey because this gives us a lot better glimpse of who you are and where, what perspectives you're bringing to the table. It is anonymous. We will never share your name out there and attach it with your responses. Anything we share will be anonymized and really used for a comprehensive look at aggregated data. But it's good to have numbers. We're finding that people want to see the numbers. They want to see the results. They want to see the metrics, right? So we want to provide those metrics. So tell us more about yourself and your perspective on arts and culture in San Jose, and we will do our best to use that input to inform our advocacy. If you want to reach us, these are the places to do that. So I've got our website, sjartsadvocates.org. Please visit that anytime. You'll see the menus up at the top are probably the best place to find the specific information you need. You can scroll down, read our blog, find out about upcoming events. And if you're not already, sign up for our mailing list. We have a MailChimp list of over, I think, 500 arts advocates now. Hooray. Thank you so much for being on it if you are. But please join if you haven't already. You can do it on the website. There's a form right there on the homepage. Just scroll down and you'll see it. We're on socials. We're on all your socials for the most part, except for TikTok. Still figuring that one out. San Jose Arts is our handle. So on Facebook, Instagram, and that thing that Elon Musk runs, San Jose Arts. Doing a little less on the Elon Musk one, to be honest with you. Kind of shady platform these days. But the other two are very robust. We have over 1,400 Instagram followers now. And they're not bots. I swear to God, I've checked. So thank you so much for following if you do already. And again, if you need to reach us via email, hello@sjartsadvocates.org is the email address. All righty. Whew. I need a drink. How about you? Just kidding. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. As Bill and Ted say, be excellent to each other. And if you have any questions, I'm going to keep this open for a minute and we'll happily answer any questions you have. And again, email us if you have any other thoughts. But once again, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Truly appreciate you all being here. I do want to call out, I should have done this at the top of the meeting. We are coming to you live from the unceded lands of the Muwekma Ohlone people. I want to recognize that. And that's where we do most of our work. So thanks everyone for being here. Thanks to my team for being here, for everything you do. All right.